right. So this is where we last left off. We finished the first section of the first section here. We finished the section 1.2, 1.1 and 1.2. So now it's going to be talking to managing lists, okay? So here it says identify the lists. Okay, so it says right here, identify the list that you can input, right? How many lists can you input? You're going to need to know that, right? And you're going to find that through the gear icon under lists or all lists. Okay, you click on that, you should be able to populate every single list on there. So in this case, okay. So here you go. We're going to go ahead and go to gear icon, and we're going to go ahead and go to all lists. So these are all the lists that you can input in here, okay? Now, the most important thing about creating lists is, the sole purpose of creating lists is to help you fill everything out, and so then it makes it that much easier to every time you do your transactions, you have the drop down list created for you. So if you remember, if I go to plus new, let's say I want to have an invoice, right? By doing so, right, you create your terms list. So as you can see here, here's your terms list, right? If you have your locations on, right, you would have a drop down for your locations, right? Your chart of accounts will determine your your categories, but not here because that's for bills and stuff. But for products and services, boom. If you create your list ahead of time, it makes it that much more easier to fill your information quicker on a form. So that is exactly what the sole purpose of that is. But it also allows you to also kind of figure out what do you have to offer for your business, right? Especially for your terms. What do you give your customers, or what do your vendors give terms for you for, right? And terms, once again, is how much or when a bill is due, right? Classes can determine what sections or areas of a business that you want to separate your income and expenses. Locations, like, once again, could be regional areas, it could be departments, it could also be store locations. And especially knowing the products and services that you sell. That would be extremely important. And of course, you always need to start at least with the chart of accounts, because in order for you to even begin using QuickBooks Online, you need to have a chart of accounts already, at least have an idea of what's there. Now, as we know as well too, you can always add to these lists at any moment given point in time. You can quick add as you go during your transactions. So that's also important as well too, that you know that. Now, other lists that you can also do here is entering people. Okay, we'll talk about the entering vendors later on. But in this case, once you do that, just a few important ones that you want to do is chart of accounts, products and services. So again, visit chapter 2, because chapter 2 is where we talk about lists and what to add. So that's where we started creating our list to add our terms, our classes, our locations, and so on and so forth, okay? So just making sure that you identify what the importance is. So in this case, I'll put right here, importance, setting up lists will help save time on your forms. Okay. Now again, you definitely, I'm going to star or I'm going to underline that your chart of accounts is number one that you need to complete first in order to have QuickBooks. Okay, so or in order to use QuickBooks, right? So let me go ahead and put here need to create first. Okay, now once again, you have the ability to keep adding to your chart accounts at any given moment in time. Okay. All right. The next one says identify the content and the various lists. So we've already identified what they are, right? In this case, I'm just gonna go ahead and transfer this question here. Oh, wrong section here. I'm going to click and drag that up here. Okay, because in this case, right, we know for a fact that the chart of accounts, right, since you need to create it first, what is it? It literally is a list of all the accounts you need to organize your business transactions, right? What does products and services do? Lists out all of what you sell and provide to your customers, right? Classes and locations. We already talked about class and locations tracking. So in this case, right, which areas, departments, line of businesses you have, right? And so on and so forth. So you can list out all of the list items on there. I'm not going to go through every single one of them or type every single one of them, but I am going to go ahead and go back to this here. So of course, your chart of accounts, the first one. Next one is recurring transactions. So once again, if you have those transactions that you enter in on a monthly basis and it's the same exact one, you have the ability to enter it in as many times as you'd like, right? But there's only 3 recurring transactions you can do, right? You could do either bill or an invoice, I believe. Okay, and then there's one more. But in this case, if you have the same exact information on a certain transaction, you can go ahead and make it recurring, meaning you can recreate that transaction again and again and again for as many times as you want. And remember, there are 3 different types of recurring transactions, okay? Products and services, we already said, it's basically the list out right here. It even gives you the information right here on what each list does, okay? Locations, we already talked about. Custom form styles. So again, this is the list of all the different templates that you can use for your invoice, sales receipts, purchase orders, and so on and so forth. Okay, and your customer statements. Okay, payment methods. Payment methods is going to be the list of how you or your customer is going to pay, whether it's cash, checking, or there's a check, whether it's credit card, right? This one just validates the type of payment you're doing, right? Terms, once again, is the dates that you choose to designate to have either, a vendor wants you to have it due by, or whether you prefer it to be giving you a deadline to your customers on when they have to pay. Again, classes is whether you have a certain section in your business. Okay, and then attachments. In this case, if you have any attachments such as something unique like for example, if you want a specific attachment that you want to have all the time, what are those attachments? So again, if you want to create one for, identification cards, driver license or whatever, right? Something like that, a business card, right? You can actually designate a spot for it. And then tags are going to be things that you kind of use to search your transactions by further categorizing. And custom fields. Custom fields are very important as well because they allow you to add more information on a sales form. Okay, and that again, if we remember, we did sales rep and purchase order number. This is important for if you need more extra information that you normally would not see. That's already pre-made by Intuit on a sales form or a purchase order form. Okay, so again, we went over the list. Okay. And again, you can also add in your customers list, vendors list, and employee list. Okay. So again, I'm going to go ahead and put in here in parentheses, check out chapter 2. When you're customizing your QuickBooks, right? That's one of the things we had you go over is to create and customize your list. Okay. Next, right here says identify the appropriate list for different purposes. We've already talked about that, right? Again, what are supposed to be on your list? Straightforward. Chart of accounts is going to be your accounts that you are going to be having here. So whether it is an asset, liability, equity accounts, income, and expense accounts, right? Your products and services. What are the three products and what are the 4 types of products and services you can have? You can have your inventory items, your non-inventory items, your services, and your bundles. Okay. And so on and so forth. Okay, so you should be able to know how to identify what those are. So in this case, this question is also going to be in here as well. Okay. And then it says identify when and how to add, edit, delete, and merge list items. So again, add. Okay. How do you add things to a list, right? They all have the set standard type of formatting, right? We know and understand you click on any type of list. Let's do the chart of accounts. How do you add something to your chart of accounts? Always top right new. Okay? So that's something that you want to put on your chart of accounts. Top right new. If I want to add a new product and service, how do I do that? Top right new. Right? It's all going to be very similar in terms of formatting. That's the purpose of making QuickBooks very uniform. So what if I want to add my tags? What do? Once again, top right new. Okay? So again, everything, it makes it so much easy and uniform. So you don't have to do much, okay? Or it doesn't require that much. Everything's going to be very familiar. Everything's going to be doing everything that's very, in terms of entering things in, they make it very easy and feasible. Like in this case, if I do want classes, what do? Top right new. Okay? So they do make it much more uniform and much more easy. So the ability to add anything on a list is standard and uniform. So in this case, top right corner of window, and it's called new. Okay? It's always going to be there. Okay? Okay. So, how do I edit the anything on there, right? How do I edit? Now, in this one, some of them are a little tricky, some of them are not. But in this case, most of them are in the general location as well. If you go on any list, right, you have the options to have a column where you have actions, and that should give you a drop-down menu to let you edit anything that you would like. Okay, so if I were to go to my chart of accounts, oh, wrong one, sorry. If I were to go to my chart of accounts, right, and I click actions, drop down list, right, you should be able to edit pretty much anything that you want on here. The only difference is when you editing your people, that's where it's a little different there. But in this case, majority of the list, they're all formatted universal to make it easier for you to make sure that when you enter your information, that you have the ability to edit them. It's all the similar and same formatting. So once again, when you're editing your information, you're going to go to each list and select drop down menu on more on actions column. Okay, and then you'd be able to edit your accounts. Now, deleting. What's the rule of deleting? Can you ever delete anything in QuickBooks? On lists?
No, you can only change the name.
Yes, you can. No. So, yes, that's correct. No. You cannot delete any list items on QuickBooks Online. Okay.
Okay, you can only make it inactive.
You can, yes, great, excellent. You can only make inactive, or what's the second one?
Okay, make inactive. Hmm. Yeah, that was the only one I was working with. So
Okay. What the other one is, what happens when you have two of the accounts that are the same?
okay, you can change one.
Merge.
You
I'm
can
like,
merge. Yes, good. You can merge them together. Okay. So again, how do I make an account inactive? Right? What is the purpose of inactivating accounts? This inactivating account or items / accounts will hide, okay? It will not actually get rid of it. It will hide it from the list. Okay? All right? it doesn't not actually delete it. It just removes it off the list. So you have to just remember it just hides it, right? If you
Right.
want to reactivate or activate again, select actions. Select drop down menu, or hold on, you have to view them first. Sorry. If you want to activate it again, you need to change settings on your list. So this is the mini gear icon. Okay. To view inactive accounts, or inactive items, and then select drop down menu on actions column to activate again. Okay, so what am I talking about? So here, perfect example, I have my accounts here. If, let's say, I want to hide if I want to hide trying to think here. Let's scroll down. Okay, right here, loans to loans to shareholders. Let's say I wanna activate this, right? If I go down to the drop down menu, so you don't want to click on register, you want to actually click that drop down menu, and let's make it inactive. It's gonna give you this code, and I'm gonna say yes. Okay. Now, how do I make it appear again? So remember, I told you that you have to change the settings on the mini gear icon. You see this little mini gear icon right here? That will allow you to see what you want to see. So in this case, I want to include inactive. Okay. And once I create that setting, then my inactive account should show up on your list. So what was that? Current liability. It should tell you, because it should highlight it, that it's been deleted. Hold on, I can't find it. Loans. I know I didn't go that far. So here, loans to others. Right here, right? Loans to shareholders. Right here, it says it's been deleted, right? You have make active, or you could go down to the drop down menu to make it active again. There you go. Okay, there. That's all you have to do. Okay. So again, if you want to get rid of the account as well, you can always edit the account and just change it to a new account. But in this case, right, this is if you just want to remove it off the list, you could just make them inactive. Okay. All right. And how do I merge two or more accounts? Right. All right. You're going to have to pick between two accounts, which one you want to keep and which one you don't want to keep. Okay. So in this case, let me go ahead and put it here. If two accounts / items are similar in nature, and you want to condense or combine, right? What do? Right? First thing is you need to identify which account you want to keep and which one you want to get rid of. Okay? Then you're going to edit the name you want to keep and copy the name, the display name, word for word, right? You don't want to ever type anything in because that's going to be your ultimate downfall right there. Is you could also make a typo on there. You want to copy the name word for word. Okay? Then, right, you will select the item, or I guess I'm just gonna use accounts for it. Account that you don't want and edit the name to match the account name you do want to display. Okay? Now you'll get an error message that you already have this account with this name. Do you want to merge? Right? And then you click yes. Okay? Now here's a few things that you need to know when merging. Okay? You can only merge accounts / items with the same account. I'm just referring accounts as an example. Accounts with the same account type, and you have to have two, and detail type. If you have only one or the other, unfortunately you cannot merge them unless you change them. Okay? So in this case, you have to have both criteria in order for you to merge those accounts. So therefore, if it's an expense, it has to be the detail type has to be other expense. It can't be another category from another one. Okay, so you have other expense and then you have advertising expense. You cannot combine those two. It has to be both the account type and detail type. Okay? Other things that you need to know too. Merging cannot be undone. Okay, so once you merge, you merge. It's permanent. Okay. All right. Okay. Next part is managing the chart of accounts. We already talked about that right up here under chart of accounts. Okay, so this one is more geared towards editing, adding, deleting, and merging and making it active, right? You already know about that chart of accounts. Okay. So next section here is 1.4, managing recurring transactions. Okay, so we do get to visit this, okay? Describe the reasons for making transactions recurring. Why do we make transactions recurring?
Monthly payments, contracts.
Monthly bills, contracts. Okay. So in this case, it helps save you time from re-entering the same information on a form. Okay? One thing you need to know is what can you make reoccurring, right? There's a few transactions that you can only make reoccurring, okay? I already gave you an example. So if I go to my whether I go to all my lists or I could have just clicked that link, the link over there. Recurring transactions. What can you make recurring? Here are your options. Oh, go back. Okay, here are your options. Okay, your options are you can either do a bill, okay? You can do, you could do an invoice. You could do a deposit. You could do a journal entry. You could do an expense. You can do a lot. So in this case, these are what you can do. So make sure you explore this, right? So you could do bills, non-posting transactions, checks, non-posting checks, credit card credits, credit memos, deposits, estimates, expenses, and invoices, as well as journal entries, right? We mentioned, and you got more too, so you can keep scrolling down, okay? These are the transactions you can make recurring, okay? So make sure you explore those options, okay? But yes, so that's a lot of transactions that you can make recurring, okay? So again, you could do it for bills, invoices, journal entries, estimates, checks. Okay, the list goes on and on. Okay. Now in this case, how do I make it recurring? Right, straightforward. You can go to the recurring list. Okay, whether it's on the gear icon. So again, how I can go to gear icon and then select it. It's recurring transactions. Okay, that should be under the account. Right, it should be under accounts. Just kidding, it's under list. Okay, or you know what you can do too? When you're adding an invoice, right? You can fill out all the details under it, right? And you know what you can do? At the bottom of your window, you have the option to make recurring. And when you click on make recurring, right, you need to determine what are the 3 types that you're going to make each recurring transaction. Are they going to be scheduled, unscheduled, or are they going to be reminders? Okay, so scheduled, reminders, or unscheduled. So remember, you need to know the difference between those 3. Okay, so let me go ahead and go back to the how. So how, gear icon, recurring transactions, under lists, or on bottom of each form, you have the option to click make recurring. Okay. Now, what are the 3 types of recurring transactions? We said it was reminders, scheduled, and unscheduled. So, please tell me what the difference between them are. Okay, starting with reminders. What's the difference of setting a reminder versus making an actual scheduled or unscheduled recurring transaction? If you don't know where you're looking for, it's going to be in chapter 5. Okay. Okay, chapter 5, when you're trying to figure out the rest of your transactions. Okay. So again, reminders is where you can set reminders to put in a bill, right? Straightforward. Set reminders to enter in a bill or payment, whatever it is that you're trying to do, right? Or I'm going to put in transaction. Okay. Okay. Scheduled. Scheduled means you're going to literally schedule to enter transactions, as in like you're going to, it's gonna automatically appear or auto populate, whatever we call it, right? It's going to create it for you automatically in this case, right? And you can schedule payments or schedule when things are going to be put into your QuickBooks, right? Unscheduled, where you can have them in your list and you basically choose when to create it. As in, it's not technically recurring, but what if you have the same exact customer that orders the same exact thing, but they come on various days, right? If that's the case, you can create the form already and it's unscheduled because it's not it doesn't happen all the time, or it's not on every single day or on a specific date, right? But it's a transaction that always happens all the time. So therefore, that's going to be instead of a scheduled one where it's always occurring at a specific time and date. This one is where you're just saving the form, so then when you are ready to use it, you can use it whenever you want. It's not scheduled. It's not there's no time or date on it, okay? So in that case, that's the difference between scheduled and unscheduled, right? So unscheduled is creating transactions to save the content in form, but there is no set date or time of when this transaction will occur. Okay, so that means you're only saving it just to have it on there. Okay, so again, explore those 3 different ones. Again, it's in chapter 5. Okay. Describe how to implement recurring transactions. Why would someone tell you to use recurring transactions? What is the sole purpose of recurring transactions? Why would someone tell you to use recurring transactions?
I'm guessing that it's something that has the exact amount, like a loan.
Okay, so in this case, what,
Well, like we have our cargo van, or we have our insurance, or we have um, our rent, or we have something. Don't you
so
have to
what,
do? But are you talking about like if a company were ordering the same thing from them every month?
it doesn't matter because you're
A
able to do
vendor?
any of those.
Yeah,
You're
any of
able.
those.
Now, what is the sole purpose of why we create recurring transactions?
Because it's
why would a
safe.
company
I think it's because it's
safe
safe
safe from what? Safe from doing what?
from forgetting. That one thing that you don't have to rely on yourself solely. You can have a recurring transaction happen so that you can um, save time as well.
There you go. That's the exact thing I was looking for. Is to purpose is to save time. Everything about QuickBooks is up. It literally, it's in its name. You want to go in, put in your transactions, and get out. You want to do this in a quickly time manner. Because if you are a real accountant and you are a bookkeeping for a specific business, you cannot spend hours on a transaction. That will be that would be inefficient, right? And it would be completely unproductive. So the sole purpose is to save you time on re-entering all of that information in there again, over and over and over and over. And you know what? That is definitely something that you said it's a safe uh, uh, reminder, right, to reminder to enter in a transaction that occurs frequently, right? So prevent you from forgetting, but ultimately, say a transaction, entering in transaction. So you don't forget, okay? But ultimately, it also ensures accuracy, right? Because if you're entering in the same bill over again, likelihood is that maybe you'll have a minor mistake in one of those bills, where this one you can perfect it and make sure that it's exactly the same detail. So this case, it will allow you to ensure accuracy when making a recurring transaction to prevent any minor mistakes, okay, from entering in transactions. Okay. Awesome. So again, explore that that section for recurring transactions. Again, it's in chapter 5. It's very very beginning. Um, Once again, just like what we discussed, it is the one where we have the cargo van loan payment and we made it recurring. Yes. Okay. All right. 1.5, managing journal entries. Identify the information required for a journal entry. So again, what do we actually use the journal entry for? Okay. So in this case, I'm going to combine these two because that would fall under the same category of describing how to use it. Okay. And why we use it. What has happened? Okay. All right. So start with the first one is why. Or let's do what is a journal entry. Okay. Why do we use the journal entry and how do we use the journal entry? So let's start with the what. What is a journal entry?
It's moving money from one account to another.
Yes, exactly, right? Strictly only accounts, okay? So in this case, what is it? It is um a it is a way to record your transactions using debit and credit system to move
Adjust or or adjust.
Yeah, to move amounts from one account to another, right? Okay. Emphasis on an account. Now, why do we use journal entries, right? You said to make adjustments.
Yes.
So that, yes, good. To make adjustments. What else?
That's for me, that's the main one. I don't think we've used it for anything else. Well, yeah, I don't think we've used it for anything else than adjustments.
We also used it for chapter 12, which I taught you in chapter 5. You do it for opening balances.
Okay.
For accounts. Now, if you open up the chapter 5 under journal entries, you should see the list of what you need to do. You would use it for non-cash transactions, recategorizing. Okay, recategorizing for recategorizing classes / locations, right, for accounts. Okay, you would definitely use it to, okay, so just go ahead and take a look in chapter 5. I can't remember the exact page, but it should list out what the journal entries are used for. But yes, solemnly, it's mainly used for adjustments. Okay, so again, depreciation is considered an adjustment, right? We just took an example, and so we also in chapter 11, we use journal entries to close your equity accounts, right? Okay. We categorized accounts and so on and so forth, but it's mainly used for adjustments. So we did it for inventory adjustments, right? So you want to make sure you kind of go through that. Okay. How do I create my journal entry?
You open a adjust journal entry. What do you mean? You go to add new, plus new,
Plus new. Yes, plus new.
plus new journal entry.
Journal entry. Good. Okay. So again, how is going to be that plus new. Okay, it's your best friend, right? Plus new journal entry. Okay? All right. Good. Okay. 1.6, right? Connect Intuit QuickBooks Online to apps. So once again, there is a section for that. I believe it's in either chapter 12 or chapter 2. There is a section where you can go ahead and insert or upput all of your information from different applications to link up. Okay, I believe chapter 6 for banks allows you to link your bank account. Okay, but in this case, right, I didn't show you how because you could just read that and imagine it. But in this case, we don't want to put any sensible data into QuickBooks Online unless you are building your own company, right? And that's your personal decision. But in this case, right, how do you identify the purpose of these apps? Well, what's the purpose of linking everything to your QuickBooks Online? Why? Why do we do it? Why? Why do we want to link our applications to QuickBooks Online?
It actually gives us more variety for our customers to link in their banking options like Square.
Well, what's the purpose of why you want it to be connected?
Well, because
those
there's
op
those.
those
Well, we want to link into our apps too, so that we can check on our stuff as well.
right, you want to streamline everything in one place, right? I want to be able to see my Venmo account, my Cash App account, my Zelle account. I want to see it all in one area so then I don't have to go through each and every single application on a separate device, right? That's why linking your bank account to QuickBooks Online allows you to be able to do your banking transactions right there all in one place. So that's the key purpose, sole purpose is to just streamline everything in one place, right? And manage it. And manage all apps together, right? That's the important thing is being have the ability to access. So in this case, this is to access all account in one place. Okay? All right? Being able to view everything all in one place instead of, again, I don't need to go to Venmo.com. I don't need to go to PayPal.com. I don't need to go to my banking, my banking app to see my Zelle transfers, right? I can do it all in one place. That's the sole purpose of why we want to link our accounts to QuickBooks Online for easy ability to manage all of your accounts in one place. Okay? Now again, how do I get apps? Right? That will depend on your type of operating system. So if you own Apple, right, we have the Apple Store. Or sorry, yeah, if you own Apple or iPhone, whichever one you associate it with, they're the same exact thing. You have the App Store, right? Okay. If you have if you have Google, or what is it, Android device, right? You will have what's called the Google Play or something like that, right? You'll have those options. So again, you're able to download them through there. Okay, but this is on mobile. If it's again, if it's you have Microsoft, if you're using the Microsoft computer, you also have what's called the Microsoft Store. Okay, and I believe again you're able to do that through Xbox as well. Okay, Xbox, they have their own app store that you can download all of those things as well. So again, it just depends on what kind of operating device that you have. But in this case, the Microsoft Store, right? So for instance, I'm using my laptop. I would have to access the Microsoft Store to be able to download all of those applications on my device. Okay, so again, make sure you explore those options. Now, identify the risks and benefits of extending functionalities through these apps. So we already talked about the benefits, right? You're able to do everything in one place. What are the risks?
Other people can break into your system.
Absolutely, 100% risks are people can hack into your system, right? So again, being able to link up all of your accounts, you're literally giving hackers the ability to access all of your accounts all in one area. So again, that's why it's so important that you secure your QuickBooks file, okay? Right? That means setting up those secure passwords. Secure passwords. Now, one of them is changing your password every month, right? I know it's a tedious thing, but that's one of those preventative measures to prevent anybody from hacking into your systems, because you're all constantly changing the password. You're never going to have the same password over and over and over again. Use different passwords for different types of accounts. But in this case, if you're streamlining them all into one, if they have access to your QuickBooks, boom, you're done for, right? So again, that is the huge risk, is people can hack into your system and they can steal all your information, right? Steal all information, which could include breach of data. So that means including your customers' information is subjected to be stolen, right? Social security numbers can be stolen. Pretty much anything can be stolen. So you want to be very, very careful. Social security, your tax information can be stolen. Anything. So you want to be very careful when you're adding all of this information. Okay, and yes. Okay. Good. All right, so we're finally done with section 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive straight into section 2, setting up customers. Okay, identify the importance of display name field. What is so important about setting what's so important about the display name?
Because that's what shows up on your forms.
Not necessarily. What is so important about a display name?
For setting up the customers, because it can't be duplicated.
Yes. Why can it not be duplicated?
Because like QuickBooks is in their running of their system, they only associate one name to each thing.
Excellent, right? We have to understand the display name, right? You're going to have a column where it says customer name, and then you're going to have one for display name. Display name, right, is what QuickBooks uses to identify a person or an item in QuickBooks, right? This is their use to be able to locate, right? And create the lists. What do you call it? What am I trying to say? It's by using the display name, it allows QuickBooks, because QuickBooks, once again, it's a software. It's using some kind of algorithm to be able to produce the information for you. So they're using the display name as a unique marker to identify certain things, and when you're using it, that's how it populates up for you, right? Because the algorithm that you put in there, that is what it's looking at. It's looking at display names. That's why you can't have duplicates of anything, including a customer name, a vendor name, an item, an account, because it's going to flag you saying, hey, you already have it in here. So in this case, right, that's what I'm trying to explain here, to locate certain profiles. So again, let me go ahead and retype this in here. Uses display name as an algorithm oops, that was right, algorithm to pull up the information for you, right? It's using it as an algorithm to be able to pull that content up for you. Okay? So that's why it's important that you cannot have two display names that are the same. Okay? So whether it's your customers, right? Whether it's customers, vendors, or employees, they cannot have the same exact name, right? Same thing. You can't have the same exact account name either, or a same exact product or service. Okay. All right, next one. Difference between billing and shipping addresses. Okay. So, can a customer have two different billing and shipping addresses?
Yes.
Customers can have multiple addresses. Okay? Well, what's the difference between a billing address versus a shipping address?
The warehouse might be a different location than your home office.
No, you wouldn't be used. That's not a way we use the billing address versus. Oh, okay. If you're talking in terms of your home address is what you're going to be using to be billed, versus your warehouse is going to be where you're sending the stuff. If you're referring to that way, yes. But in this case,
I
how
thought we're
would we
talking.
identify?
I thought we're talking about customers because when you're selling a billing address, you need to send it to the place they have their accountant or they have their person who does the books.
This is a customer. Well,
Yeah,
why
that's
would
a
a
customer.
customer have their own accountant?
No, that's just not what I mean. I'm not trying to make it difficult. I'm trying to actually make it simple. If you have a customer, the billing address is what the checks and everything, the names and everything have on them. Their banking information is. You have to match those that match, right?
Typically, yes. But in this case, a billing address is going to be where the bill is going to be sent to.
Yeah. I
It
didn't
doesn't.
disagree with you.
Okay, and
But
it does not mean that the bank account lies there.
that's not what I meant either. I'm just talking about, okay, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but products go places and envelopes go places and they don't have to be the same.
Okay.
So if I'm a person who sells mugs, let's say, and their job is to fill it with flowers, well, you want it to go to the place that does that. But if their office is in apartment B behind the store, you don't want it to go to apartment A where they're making the flowers.
So that's vendors. That
It's
you're
a
talking
vendor.
that's a vendor situation because you're talking
Ah,
about suppliers shipping items to you. No, we're
maybe,
talking about
okay.
selling the product to the customer.
Okay.
So in this case, right, a billing address is where you're going to send the bill to, right? As
Mm-hmm.
in you're charging your customer for what they order for you.
Oh,
That's the
so,
billing
well,
address.
okay, but what if they want to send your stuff to their nephew?
That is the shipping address.
Yeah. So I'm
So
talking about, so the
in
billing address goes to the customer.
the billing address goes to whoever is going to pay for the bill.
Yeah.
Yes. So exactly, right?
I must be
And
making this completely confusing for everybody.
in this case, the billing address is going to be whom you're billing to, right?
Yeah.
Because if they don't select that they are not going to be doing online billing or whatever online statements, you need to send them the bill somewhere. Where's it going to go? That is the billing address, is to whoever is making the purchase, right? Right? Whoever's making the purchase, you need to send them the bill, right? To send the bill. Okay? Your shipping address is going to be to whoever you are.
Sending the product to.
Yes, thank you. Sending the product to, right? So again, if I want to send my mom a basket of flowers, right? My billing address is here in Vegas. I want that bill to be sent to me because I'm paying for it, right? But at the end of the day, I'm sending that flowers to my home somewhere, right? Wherever my mother lives, right? So when that's going to be the example, I'm not going to make my mother pay for the bill. I'm not going to send my bill to my mom because I'm going to be the one that's paying for it. Does not necessarily have to be where your bank resides, right? It could just be where you are sending the bill to. That is the key importance there, right? I can send my billing address to my other my other office, right? I don't have to send it to me per se at my home address. I can send it to my office if I wanted to because I'm going to go into the office every day. I'm going to eventually receive that bill, right? So the idea is of the place where you're trying to send the bill to. Who's going to pay for it? Well, that is the ultimate reason why we have a billing address and a shipping address. Now, if you're using a credit card, then yes, you have to use the correct billing address for the same exact credit card that you're associating your bank with. That is going to be another can of worms, but I'm talking about the general idea of a billing address versus a shipping address, where I'm just using my shipping addresses. If I want to send a gift out to my friends or my family, boom, I use their address instead because I want them to receive the product, not me. So that's the huge difference of why a customer can have a two separate billing address versus a shipping address. Okay, all right. For making the purchase. Okay. All right. And then now define and describe the use of customer payments terms. So why do we give customers terms?
To let them know when we want to get paid.
Exactly. To set a date to set a date for customers to know when we need to be paid, right? Now, what's the sole purpose of that? Why do we need to set those terms? Why do you need to tell your customer to pay you?
So we receive prompt payment.
Yes, but ultimately, why do we need that payment? Is what I'm trying to get at. Why do you need your customers to pay?
Because we provide the service, they need to pay for it.
Correct. Okay, we need to set terms so we can get paid to continue our operations and provide more products, right? You need money to do the rest of your functions, right? Products and services, right? You need money in order for you to be able to provide those products and services, right? And if your customers are not paying you, what does that stop you from? It stops you from continuing your operation. So you need that circle of, you need the cash from your customers so you can go ahead and take that money and spend it on the vendors that you need to pay for to do that cycle all over again so you can sell it to more customers. So ultimately, that's the reason why you need to set those terms. Right? You need to get paid to continue the rest of your operations. Define taxable and non-taxable customers, right? Why do we have different types of customers receive taxable versus non-taxable? Okay? So in this case, generally, all customers are taxed. What are those exceptions?
Nonprofit.
Yes. Non-profit customers, they do get tax exempt.
And certain vendors.
Certain, okay, we're talking about customers.
Yeah, because vendors can be customers.
Oh, okay. Certain vendors slash customers. Okay. If they, I believe,
They're doing reselling.
they are reselling good resellers, and I believe, Army or anybody that's serving in the Army, they get a discount if that's not. Some of them can be tax exempt, just depending on what you associate them with. Okay, so anybody that's a charity. Okay. And let's go ahead and do this one last one here. Define and describe the correct use of sub-customers. Why do we have sub-customers? Okay, so I'll give you an example. In Imagine Photography, right? We have Matilda Builders. Under Matilda Builders is the DeVoe restaurants and the Barnett, correct. Why do we have sub-customers?
Their parent customers are responsible for, or can be responsible for, the billing.
Correct, right? Parent companies or parent customers, excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay? And then they can be, again, sub-customers, right? Can be considered like a group, right? Can be considered a group of customers, right? Or they could be, like for instance, right? I sell to my family, right? If I sell to my family, I can create a subcategory under me, and either I pay for it or I have them pay for it, but ultimately they belong in a group. Okay? So again, group of customers, right? Good. So you want to explore that in the customers chapter. So I'm going to stop here, right? We're going to go ahead and take our break.